There are some who wait for things to change, and then there are some who make it happen. And today we are talking about the latter. Hello and welcome. I am Sadhika Tiwari and you're watching Eco India. We are living in times where things are changing at an unforeseen pace. Everything from climate to technology is rapidly evolving. And at the forefront of many of these positive changes are strong individuals who are looking towards the future. And in today's episode, we are going to go meet some of them. Let's start with some people who are trying to influence change. Some of them are even influencing global action either through thousands of their social media followers or by starting conversations on the ground. Others, meanwhile, are spreading awareness and trying to inspire people to engage with local communities and the environment around them. How important are such voices? My colleague Bahar is on a quest to find out.
Fill the fund.
What inspires people to take actions to protect the planet? Do the number of likes on social media make for a successful climate influencer? On my quest today, I am keen to find out what's that secret sauce that drives people to climate action. In a bustling market close to Delhi, I meet social media influencer Pankaj Kumar. With more than 275,000 followers and meager resources, this Earth Warriors videos are a wake-up call to the state of our rivers, but with a very specific focus.
Across India, there is a capacity for treating 32,000 crore litres of sewage, out of which not even 10% is working. And our biggest problem is untreated sewage. So if we want to treat river pollution, all we have to do is make the STPs functional.
Sewage treatment plants collect, treat and discharge wastewater, ensuring that the city's sludge and fecal matter doesn't get thrown directly into rivers. Often, this government-mandated infrastructure lies in a state of neglect due to corruption and apathy. Pankaj's method is simple. Show up, provide the visual evidence of pollution with a clarion call to the authorities to wake up. He's already had a couple of wins.
One is that when we uploaded videos, people became aware. Take Noida, where there are 8 STPs. We just recorded them and they called us and said, "Come and see, we've cleaned it up."
On a boat ride across the river Yamuna, I'm able to witness the problems firsthand.
Behind me, the infrastructure of the city, but right below, a river that lies neglected. It's people like Pankaj who are reminding us of what we've done to our water bodies, simply by bearing witness to the ecological destruction we're causing to it.
Pankaj comes from a humble background. Not so long ago, he was helping his father as a fruit vendor on the streets. He even left a job with a bank to become a full-time Earth Warrior. Pankaj Kumar, at the click of a button, showing us what it takes to clean up India's rivers, one sewage treatment plant, one social media reel at a time. My next stop is close to the sandy beaches of Goa. Here, Swabu Kohli is giving the final touches to their artwork, to be displayed at an upcoming conference. Swabu's artwork captures the complexities of nature in flamboyant and celebratory ways. The details of brushstroke are an ode to the natural life they have observed, from jellyfish to resplendent bird life.
I was accessing a really vivid imagination from the time I was really young, and I was really encouraged. Interestingly, growing up in New Delhi in the 90s, we were so privileged to be so close to nature. We had fireflies at night, there were foxes, we'd have different kinds of lizards, we'd have different kind of insects, moths, butterflies.
But somewhere along the way, this perfect relationship with nature was changing.
over time I started realizing that there's this sense of loss that one was feeling, an immediate loss of habitats getting erased, ecosystems getting wiped, the relationships between people and the natural world also degrading with it. And suddenly it was almost like being struck by deep grief, and it felt like we've lost something that's never going to come back.
Soon Swabu's art moved from a celebration of nature to a powerful call to action. They have been at the forefront of the Save Moller movement that started in 2020, a citizen-led initiative to stop linear infrastructure projects that would have threatened wildlife and thousands of old-growth trees inside a national park in Goa.
We invite you to come and unfold the case of the missing species with us.
It helped shift environment movements from the courtroom to the streets. In 2022, the Supreme Court ordered for a realignment of the project in order to save the forests, an affirmation of the magic of collective action and art.
Through the stories I tell, I try and sort of reignite that intuitive sense of how close we are to nature and how much there is to learn from it. Those are the places where we'll be able to build new relationships as we move forward into this time where we are rapidly changing the environment around us so quickly. That's really the root of from where my work stems and the well from where I create.
Meanwhile, back in New Delhi, I meet Harjeet Singh, who's been at the forefront of the fight for climate justice.
Billions, not millions.
He is a frequent campaigner at many of the UN climate summits, but somewhere he felt he was losing motivation.
When do we want it?
We have been fighting for climate justice for a long time, and when I came back from Paris, I was like, I can't just continue with the same policy work unless I also put my effort in changing things on ground.
Together with his wife Jyoti, they set up Satat Sampada Farming Initiative, a social enterprise that provides farm-to-table organic vegetables through regenerative agriculture. At a farm on the outskirts of Delhi, they share their story. So how does the work they do link to climate action?
And if you do organic farming, it also helps you not only reduce the carbon footprint, but also help adapt, because you are promoting natural farming, which is far more resilient. You also create more jobs. By promoting natural farming, we also are able to promote people's health, not only where farming is happening, but also people in urban areas who are consuming these products.
An analysis by the Pesticide Action Network in 2022 revealed that nearly 40% of the pesticides used in India are highly toxic, with massive health and environmental implications. It is Jyoti who provides the technical knowledge, training farmers on how to make this transition away from the use of heavy chemicals. Today, more than 100 farmers supply fresh vegetables and fruits to them. At their store in the city, the team is sorting out the orders to be delivered to customers.
So on the menu today, there's yellow pepper, there's zucchini, there's cucumber, red pepper, some French beans, and some okra. This is the center where all the vegetables that are sourced from farmers are brought in here. But the journey for Jyoti and Harjeet has not been easy.
Fruits and all other items.
Initially, the business didn't generate any big margins. Loyal customers were slow, but soon the walk-ins increased at their shop. It's provided Harjeet the much-needed motivation for his climate campaigns at the global level. Harjeet and Jyoti providing the much-needed connect from policy to plate. The individuals I have met have made me realize that influencers are created not just by how many likes and hits you get in the virtual world, but through real, meaningful action for the planet.
Let's move to the farmers who are trying to grow a trending superfood across the world. Foxnuts or makhanas are these days heavily recommended for healthy snacking everywhere. India is one of the largest exporters of foxnuts, and Bihar, an eastern state in India, produces 85% of it. But how do farmers grow it? Can it be grown at a large scale? And what are the commercial threats here? Here are some answers.
Lakhan Kisku proceeds cautiously, One false step and he could get badly hurt. The water is full of prickly water lilies. He wants to get at the seeds at the bottom of the pond.
If the water is clean, there's no issue. But in murky water, it hurts the body. I get blisters and wounds.
The seeds are known as makhana, or fox nuts. Here in Purnia, a village in northern Bihar, people like to eat the seeds fried or puffed. When the dried seeds are heated, they burst like popcorn. Lakan used to grow chickpeas and makhana, was just a sideline. 5 years ago, he switched to cultivating the prickly water lilies. He can earn up to 1,000 rupees a day from the seeds. That's about 11 euros.
It's good because I'm able to maintain my household, send my children to school, and I'm able to run my household well now.
Thousands of farmers in Bihar now grow makhana. People here used to make a living from corn, cereals and rice. But with increased flooding linked to climate change, yields have been hard hit. In this year alone, 240,000 hectares of rice fields were destroyed. Dr. Aya Singh works at the Research Center for Makhana in Darbhanga in Bihar. He says water plants like prickly water lilies are more climate resilient and can better cope with the new conditions.
One, the water doesn't change temperature rapidly. Its latent heat capacity is higher. That means that water is more resilient than other liquids. And the other is that if water bodies are filled with water, they have more organic matter. And if the amount of organic matter is higher, the land resiliency also is higher and it can retain a higher carbon content.
Fox nuts are also grown in countries like Korea, Russia and Japan. But the Indian state of Bihar accounts for some 85% of global production. And demand is growing because makhana is currently hyped as a superfood by health-conscious city dwellers. Startups like Shambhu Prasad's are benefiting.
It's very lightweight, but it makes you feel that you don't have to eat too much. You know, just munch on some makhana and you'll feel filled right.
Things are going well for the startup. A truckload leaves the company headquarters each day. And with order books full, the volume is due to rise significantly. 1 kilo now fetches 8 times what it did 10 years ago. For farmers, it has become more lucrative to cultivate the prickly water lilies in fields, rather than harvesting them from ponds. The amount of land devoted to the crop has almost doubled in the last decade. Anil Kumar from Purnia's Agricultural College explains the advantages.
In the pond system, if the water is 4 feet deep, the plant's vegetative energy will be needed for it to grow up 4 feet at least, and that exhausts its energy. But in the field system, this is preserved. When its vegetative energy is converted into reproductive energy, that increases the number of flowers and the amount of fruit.
In Bihar, there are more than 20,000 wetlands, so there is still room for expansion. Experts say that many are suited for the cultivation of makhana, and it could help offset the loss of rice fields. Prickly water lilies can cope with the increasingly serious flooding and increase soil fertility too. Fox nuts have become a valuable source of income for farmers who were being forced to leave their homes and go in search of a livelihood.
From growing crops the traditional way, now let's move on to more innovative ways. Hydroponics. It is basically a technique of growing the same plants with the same nutrients, but in water rather than soil. And it is a technique that's great for us and for the environment. An entrepreneur is leading a change towards hydroponics, and turns out it's also much easier to practice and needs a lot less space. You and I could also be growing veggies in our homes using this technique.
A kilo of these tomatoes costs 10 rupees today. Just a few months ago, they were at 200 rupees. Supply was low and demand was high. But it was more than just about the market. A part of this fluctuation is human-caused climate change. Farmers around India are struggling with water shortages or unpredictable weather. But there are now other promising ways to grow food. Meet Adarsh, who is developing hydroponic techniques.
I
am an engineering graduate and now I'm a full-time urban farmer. We know that plants are grown in soil, but in hydroponics, they are grown in water. Here, we do NFT or nutrients film technique. In this NFT channel, we use net cups with cocoa peats on it. This helps to penetrate the roots. There will be nutritious water flowing through the channel that supplies essential nutrients for the plant. And the remaining nutritious water gets channeled back to the water tank. So there will be no water wastage. It's efficient because hydroponics can actually save up to 90% of water compared to traditional farming. Since it is done in a climate-controlled environment, evaporation loss is low and hardly any groundwater is depleted. The other advantage is that crops are protected from very hot or wet summers. Commercial farms currently grow up to 50 kgs of green vegetables per day. It is still happening at a small scale with only higher income clients. We grow 25,000 plants here with about 10 varieties of leafy greens and herbs. These are completely exotic greens which are used for salad making like lettuce, kale and pak choy, which are in high demand. This setting costs around 25 lakh rupees or nearly 30,000 euros. And the government also subsidizes for hydroponic farming. The upfront cost is one of the biggest limiting factors of this technology, as well as a lack in technical know-how. Small or medium-scale farmers cannot afford it, and hydroponics is so far only available to urban enthusiasts with access to a terrace. Like D. Suresh, who cultivates up to 40% of the vegetables he uses on his terrace. First, I tried a small system like NFT method and it came out well. Then I wanted to experiment with the Dutch bucket and now I have employed a grow bag technique. So everything's going and growing really well. We can grow exotic vegetables and the beauty is it's possible in Chennai weather. You see, Adarsh is growing arugula, thyme, pak choy, spring cherry. In lettuce, he has 4 varieties. You know, thyme is a herb which looks like grass, but it costs 2,000 rupees per kg. Generally, it is quite impossible in Chennai weather, but with proper greenhouse setup, in hydroponic method, it is possible. Adarsh helped D. Suresh set up his hydroponics terrace farm, where the installation cost was 20,000 Indian rupees or around 215 euros. The future is going to be hydroponics and terraces. So if we start now, we can produce a lot. If this happens, there is no chance of tomatoes' price to rise to 200 rupees. So establishments that have capital are more likely to invest in bigger farms. Like this pizza restaurant in Chennai that grows 50% of the vegetables that they use. Here you can see some crops like capsicum, jalapenos, which are the main ingredients for pizza, and they are very expensive in the market. But with the advantages of hydroponics, they can produce this at a low cost. Larger problems of reliance on the market and the climate still loom for the rest of the state. But such solutions can make a difference, especially in cities, if they become more affordable.
Let's move a little southwards to meet some people who are more focused on preserving what exists rather than growing something new. Known as tree doctors, they heal and give new lives to trees and ensure that they don't die. And to do this, they deploy both old traditions and new global techniques. So let's go meet some of them.
They look like lumberjacks, kitted out with heavy chainsaws, harnesses, fuel canisters and helmets. But rather than felling trees, these men are on a mission to save them. Here in the South Indian township of Auroville, every tree counts. That's why a homegrown team of experts tends to its greenery.
When I was young, my father had a friend who was starting to build tree houses. So as a sample, they built one in our backyard. There's such a different view and experience that you get being up there and feeling the wind blowing on you and feeling the breath of the tree. That's something I feel to this very day.
Bhagirat Prakash cares for Auroville's trees together with Jonas Sushanek, the founder of maintenance company Tree Care. They both grew up here and witnessed the community's reforestation efforts turn this once barren region to a lush green landscape.
The profession arborist or arboriculture it comes from the Latin word arbor, which is tree, and so we are tree professionals. We are, I think, how I see it is that we provide a bridge between nature and our urban environment.
In the last decade, the state of Tamil Nadu, where Auroville is located, has lost thousands of trees to cyclones. These are growing more frequent due to human-induced climate change. A powerful storm in 2011 wreaked havoc in resident Agathe Folquez's yard. She was distraught by the thought of having to fell her favorite tree.
It was during the cyclone, and the morning, all the garden, it was completely destroyed. And I am going to the swimming pool to check how is it, and I saw this tree who was completely cutting in two parts. And I say it was very large, you know, you see that? It's grow from 2011. And it is there, it was the same, it was completely open there. From there, completely at the end. It's for me absolutely impossible to imagine we have to cut this tree. The damage, you see.
Luckily, the experts at Tree Care had a solution.
We did our research, we try and figure out what's the best way of going about it. And we finally settled on a bracing method that is quite popular also in Europe, using threaded rods. We actually drilled through the entire tree with a really long drill bit and inserted a threaded rod, created some metal plates to basically force that closure again.
But even with their best efforts, arborists can't save every tree. They typically come into the picture once it is already affected by illness or damage. Alan Lescure is an Auroville-based arborist specialized in the management of urban trees. He advocates preserving mature trees in new building developments.
I'm actually going and looking at the trees on the site to look at sort of how long these trees, each individual tree will be there for. I plot them on a map so that it can be integrated in an architect's drawing. They're all geolocated. We're looking at how rare they are, how old they are, how long they are going to be there for, how much longer they're going to be there for. And based on all of these factors, you can essentially grade them.
This approach helps boost urban greenery's resilience to the stresses of a changing climate such as drought, as well as to pollution and a loss of biodiversity in the urban ecosystem. Auroville's tree doctors are always on the lookout for early warning signs of stress.
All these shoots are actually from the same tree. It's coming from the roots, and these are stress shoots. As the top of the tree, the canopy is dead, it needs to find a new source of energy. And so it's shooting out all these new epicormic shoots in a last-ditch attempt to create a new canopy for itself.
Tree Care trains aspiring arborists, teaching them how to adapt scientific techniques used in different parts of the world to local conditions. It's Jonas Sushanek's hope that this new crop of practitioners will help spread a sensitive approach to tree maintenance, well beyond the treetops of Auroville.
Such an inspiring episode. So many people like you and I are changing the way we live and grow. Do you know any such people? Do let us know. You can email us or reach out to me directly on my social media handles. I will see you next week. Until then, take care. Goodbye. Namaskar.